Welcome in to Greenville Grit, Greenville residents in touch on 103.7 WTIB. This is the local show that keeps you connected and in touch with the issues that affect what's happening in your community. Greenville Grit is sponsored by Ribeyes, Kid Construction, and Greenville Toyota. Now, here are your hosts for Greenville Grit, Terry Williams and Michael Overton.
Good evening and welcome to Greenville Grit. I'm Terry Williams.
And I'm Michael Overton. Terry, good to see you this evening. We have a great guest on and a personal friend of mine, Judge Lee Teague. Lee, thank you for coming on the show tonight.
Absolutely.
Look forward to talking to you.
Thank you for the invitation. Glad to be here.
Well, what we always do, Lee, is we start the show, do the quick introduction, but we also thank the sponsors first and foremost because they're what allow us to be on the air. So thank you so much for Greenville Toyota, their continued support since we started the show. Craig Goss and the Greenville Toyota team. If you're looking for a new Toyota or Scion vehicle or a new used car, go see Craig Goss, GreenvilleToyota.com, 321-3000, or across on the Fresh Market. Just going to run by there and visit them. Kidd Construction Group, Green Home Builder.
Green Builder.
Bill Kidd is the proprietor of that business. They built a beautiful home, Green Construction. Won the Parade of Homes this year. Just a great a friend and a great builder. You can see his stuff at kcgbuildgreen.com. I think he's got a house going in Bedford here pretty soon. And then also the Overton Group.
Thank you,
Real
Michael.
estate professionals with an office in Greenville and in New Bern, serving all of Eastern North Carolina, primarily in commercial real estate and sales and leasing.
That's right.
We also do residential real estate and business brokerage. And Ribeyes Steakhouse. We can never forget our Ribeyes Steakhouse, our favorite sponsor because of the food we get to eat. And if you mention Greenville Grit, continue to get that 25% discount. So very importantly, if you go see Ribeyes,
take your wife out to
Greenville
dinner.
Grit.
Sounds great.
That is not a campaign donation. That's for everybody out there.
Everybody gets it.
25% discount if you mention that. And they have a location on Fire Tower Road here in Greenville and in Williamston.
Yeah, great place to have dinner Saturday night after the game.
That's right. So we're going to take our 2-minute commercial break, come back, and we will get into discussion with Lee Teague.
Welcome back to our show. We have a great guest today, Judge Lee Teague, and we want you to just tell everybody all about yourself for people who may not know you or who may know you and don't know everything about you.
All right, I'll be happy to. Thank you, Terry.
Okay.
I was born and raised actually in High Point, North Carolina.
Okay.
And then after law school, Tom Hagewood hired me. He was the district attorney at the time. Hired me out of law school to work as an assistant district attorney here in Pitt County. So my entire legal career has been here in Pitt County. And in fact, just a couple of days ago was my 17th anniversary of practicing law and being a judge here in Pitt County.
Cool.
I worked at the district attorney's office for 10 years as an assistant DA under Tom Hagewood. And then when he was appointed to the bench, Clark Everett was the district attorney. And so I worked for Clark as well. In 2007, had an opportunity to go into private practice with a local firm here, and did that and was able to do some real estate work and other civil work. And then in March of 2011, opened my own practice here in Pitt County. And people talk about, it's great to be your own boss, and it's exciting to do that, and it's scary at the same time to do that, to be the sole one that's responsible for all the bills and all the overhead and everything like that. And then in 2013, Judge Joe Blick, was one of our district court judges here, decided that he was going to retire. And I talked with my wife, Jennifer, and we prayed about it and decided that I was going to throw my hat into that ring and run for district court judge. Then a couple of months after I had kind of told everyone and put it out there, Judge Blick decided that he was going to retire early. So that meant there was about a year and a half left on his term. So the way the statutes work is that all the lawyers in Pitt County come together to vote. If the criminal defense lawyers, the lawyers that do personal injury, the real estate lawyers, corporate lawyers, people that step foot in the courtroom every single day, and the lawyers that don't are not there every single day. So they voted, and I was very humbled and received the most votes. And thought I was to be the most qualified to be chosen to be the judge. Well, what happens then is the top 3 names still go to the governor's office. So my name went along with 2 others, and again we interviewed with the governor's staff. And the governor appointed me to fill in for Judge Blick's his unexpired term.
Awesome.
So I've been on the bench for over a year now. My term goes through the end of 2014, and currently in the process of running in the next election to keep my seat as district court judge here in Pitt County.
Exactly.
Well, Lee, one of the things that when you're speaking with people, you tell them your experience is on all three sides.
Yes,
as
sir.
a judge, as a independent attorney, and as the district attorney. What advantage does that give you?
Well, I think that certainly gives me an advantage because I know where everybody's coming from. I mean, it's very unique to have someone that's actually done that. I'm trying to think of other people in Pitt County that have done that, and I only know of a couple that have ever done that before. But I understand the needs that private attorneys have to get paid,
Right.
and that's their living. They don't do it for free.
Right.
I understand the needs of the clients that they have that are in civil cases, as well as criminal cases. I also understand where the district attorney's office is coming from, and they have a responsibility to the people of Pitt County. And so I understand that as well, and it's been very unique, and I think a great asset for me to be able to, while I've been on the bench, to have that perspective and to know and understand where everybody's coming from, and then treat everyone fairly, and then make the choices that comply with the law and the Constitution.
That's right. Yeah, I actually met you, got to know you when you closed some real estate deals for some
Yes,
of my
ma'am.
clients. So that's
Yes,
how I
ma'am.
really got to get to know you in the beginning. So you are a district court judge.
Yes, ma'am.
So how about tell people what type of cases would a district court judge hear?
All right, district court judges here, and there's two types of cases. You have criminal cases and you have civil cases. So on the criminal side, a district court judge would hear misdemeanors.
Okay.
In traffic court would be the highest, would be probably a DWI, where the punishment's up to 3 years. In other cases, assault cases, it would be punishment up to 150 days, assault on a female, assault with a deadly weapon, those types of things. The
Okay.
shootings, the robberies, the burglaries, those all go to superior court.
Okay.
So we may hear some type of a probable cause hearing or a bond hearing, but the case would not be resolved in district court unless the DA determines that the proper thing to do is to plead to a misdemeanor. Then we could
Right.
hear that. So on the civil side, there's a very large area of cases that we hear. Probably the one with the most volume is domestic cases, divorce, alimony, child custody,
Right.
and those types of things, equitable distribution, and those are tough cases.
Yeah, I would think.
Because it involves people's families and children are involved, and those are tough.
Right.
Then also we do juvenile court. We do abuse, neglect, and dependency, as well as juvenile adjudication for criminal offenses. Now, technically, it's a civil hearing, but they could go to jail. What a lot of people refer to as reform school, or what it used to be. But they could go to jail for violation of a criminal law, but it's still a civil case. We hear involuntary commitments at the hospital. When someone may have some mental issues, they may be committed against their will at the hospital. They have a right to have a hearing, and so we'll go and listen to the doctors, listen to the respondent's attorney, and then determine whether they should be released or whether they meet the criteria to continue that involuntary commitment. We hear civil cases, obviously, like contract cases, summary ejectments, real
Right.
estate disputes, land boundary disputes, those types of things. When the value or the alleged, money that would be owed is less than $25,000. And in civil court, in district court, the only time we have a jury is in civil court. There are no juries in criminal court, and it's kind of
And why is that?
that's the way the statutes have set it up and the Constitution has set it up. In superior court, if you have a trial in criminal court, you have a jury, unless it's an infraction like a speeding ticket. Then you can waive that to have a bench trial. Most of the time, speeding tickets are not tried in superior court. But in superior court, if you have a criminal offense, you have a jury trial. Period. Civil court, you can waive or not waive. You can waive it or request a jury trial. And in fact, this week I had a jury session, and it's district court does not have a lot of jury trials.
You probably get excited when you get to do that. Huh?
Yeah, well, you get to work.
Something different.
It is, and so you get to work with the jurors that come in and people that a lot of times never come to court, and it's neat to talk to them and you ask them questions that determine if they're a fair juror for that particular case.
Now, there is an amendment on the ballot this year
Yes,
that
ma'am.
has something to do with waiving the right
To
or
a jury
waiving
trial.
to a jury trial. Can you tell
And-
us a little bit
sure.
about that? And I don't know if you want to say how you feel about it or not, either way, but I've heard not that it should not be passed, but I don't know how, exactly all the ramifications of it.
And I can't quote it, but this
Right.
is pretty much what it says, that a defendant is the person who's charged in Superior Court. If the state is not seeking the death penalty, so in a capital murder case, it wouldn't apply. But if the punishment of death is not on the table, then the person who's charged may choose to waive their right to a jury trial. And I believe it requires the consent of the prosecutor and the judge. So therefore they could say, Judge, I'm charged with possession of cocaine. I'll just let you hear the case. I don't want to take the time and swear in a jury. Or they, and if it passes, then they can do that. Or they can choose, no, I want a jury to decide this. And
So what would be the negatives for that? They really should probably not waive their right, but should move forward and have a jury trial. Not that that is any reflection on your judgment, but just
I'll
on
tell you
their
what
rights,
I've read in my reading of it. People are concerned that there may be some lawyers finding judges that they want to hear the cases, and and that sounds terrible. And I'm thoroughly convinced that would not happen in Pitt County. I mean, our judges would never pick favorites like that. We would never do that. On the other side, they say it saves money. You could hear 3 or 4 cases in a week as opposed to maybe 1 or 2 cases in a week when you have to impanel a jury. Because in the Superior Court, it takes an hour to, I'd say it takes probably an hour and a half on a good day to, it could take a whole day or, so for a murder trial to find a jury, depending on the crime, how long it takes.
So like right now, if someone couldn't waive their right, who makes that decision? It just automatically goes depending on the type of charge.
The Constitution says you have a right to a jury trial. And so that's
so it's
period.
Just set like that.
Yes, ma'am.
Period.
For criminal court.
Lee,
For
how
Superior
does it
Court.
work? And I think, and maybe we've discussed in the past that you guys have got more of a chart or algorithm that you've got to use to assess the punishment for people.
Right.
How does it work though? If you look at some of these crimes out there with repeat offenders, this over and over and over, they're still on the street, they're still continuing to commit crimes. What is done? I mean, are you guys limited on what you can do, or can you throw the book at them? I mean, how does that work?
Well,
or how has the punishment worked out?
In district court, we have a chart for what's called misdemeanor punishment chart, and it's created by the legislature. They set, it's per statute, they set this is what the sentencing will be. And so along one side you have your list of level of crimes, A1, 1, 2, and 3. 3 being the lowest, A1 being the highest. And this does not apply to DWIs. There's a different chart for DWIs. But on this chart, and then across the top you have 1, 2, and 3 as well for the record level. If you have 0 convictions, you're level 1. If you have 1 to 4, you're level 2, and if you have 5 or more, you're level 3. So what you do when someone pleads guilty or is found guilty, you take the class of the misdemeanor, and you find that on the left side, and then the DA will tell you, Judge, we allege these types of convictions and this number of convictions, and the defendant will stipulate, yeah, we agree to that, or no, then they have a hearing, and then the court will determine how many, and then you kind of just connect the dots, and there's a box, and there's you have the option. Some boxes, the only choice you have is probation. No matter what, probation. The next level of box is a choice of a split sentence, which means you could get a little bit of an active sentence plus come out on probation. And then you have a completely inactive sentence as the worst. And there's a limit. It goes from the bottom. The most you can get for a class 3 is 20 days, and then 60 days, 120 days, and then 150 days for the highest level. So if you have if you commit the highest crime of, say, assault on a female, and you're the worst offender ever, the most
and you've done it 10 times.
And you've done it 10 times, the most I can give you is 150 days in jail.
Wow.
That's very frustrating.
It is frustrating. Well, I think one of the most frustrating things for me are DUIs, just habitual offenders for DUIs, and how how does that work? How does that work? Like they come into your courtroom once, and then they come in again. Sort of tell them what the process is of how you look at those type of offenders.
Well, when someone's charged with a driving while impaired case, DWI means driving while impaired. They come to court. They either represent themselves, they choose to hire an attorney, or they can apply for a court-appointed lawyer. Usually on that first day, they're not. They want a lawyer. They get a continuance so that they can hire an attorney. Obviously, and they're not cheap.
Right.
That's one of the larger crimes that we have that has the most impact, can have the most impact on someone's lives. So therefore, the fee for that is generally higher for than like a trespass case or something. So they and it takes a while to hire that because a lot of times people don't have the money to plop down at one time to hire an attorney, or if they have a court-appointed lawyer, then they'll be able to be more prepared a little bit sooner sometimes. But like you said, they can get arrested. They will get arrested, and they can either have an unsecured bond or they post their bond and they get out. But after I believe it's 30 days, they get their driver's license. They can't get their driver's license back, and so they're still free to drive at that point. So there's not really anything that the court system can do to prevent them from getting another DWI. They're the ones that are
they don't even have to get
responsible.
their driver's license back. Most of them just get
Some
right
of
back
them
in the
just
car.
get
and
behind
go.
the wheel.
And even if
Yeah.
you don't give a driver's license back, that doesn't keep anybody from driving. And so people.
I know page 3 of the Daily Reflector, you see the mug shots once a week of all the
know.
people, and some of them are multiple offenders.
So,
Without a
so
license.
how many cases, say, in a week, or how many, I guess, in DUIs do you think you can hear or do hear, or say 30 days even? I mean, I would just wonder how many do we actually have
dispose
occurring?
of or actually here.
I guess-
There is different.
You explain it because I'm
it-
not sure how to
yeah.
ask the question.
It depends on the court date
Okay.
because the way the court system's set up here in Pitt County with district court, the police officers, the highway patrolmen, and from all the different agencies have certain days that they come to court.
Okay.
So that if they'll write somebody a speeding ticket and they'll set, for this month they'll set all their speeding tickets on November 1st. So then when they get to November 18th or October 18th, they'll start with their next court date or something like that.
Right.
So that's and each day a case is continued. It's continued to the officer's court date, so that they're there. Now some officers write more than other officers, so it depends kind of who's the officers that are scheduled for court that day.
Right.
Some days you come in and there's not any DWIs or 3 or 4, and some days you come in there's 20 or 30 on there. So and predominantly a lot of those get continued
Right.
because they're
And I hear about that. I hear about that a lot. That there's a backlog of them, and people I've heard of that have gotten a DWI don't have court for an entire year. I don't know if that's true or not, but how do they continue to get continued when they've obviously put other people's lives in danger?
Well, I'll say this first: you can't always believe what you hear on the street.
That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, because sometimes people think things happen certain ways
Right.
and they don't actually happen that way. And then to answer your question, cases get continued for various reasons. One, because they need to prepare for court. A lot of times they want to get things done that they know is going to happen. Say they know they're going to plead guilty, and they know the judge is going to do X, Y, and Z. Well, a lot of times they want to go ahead and do X, Y, and Z, get them in a better position. So when they do enter that plea, they're qualified for this, or they're able to do this and that kind of things. And their sentence, they don't have to jump through the hoops after the conviction. They can go ahead and do it before the conviction.
I see. Like attend a class or
Right,
something?
like the drug, alcohol assessment,
Okay.
community service, things like that. And now getting to your question, or adding to the answer, you're talking about cases getting disposed or being on for a long periods of time. I will say that in the year, looking at the statistics, because what Judge DeSoto, when he first got on the bench, one of his policies was that he was not going to continue old DWI cases. Now, granted, there are always exceptions.
Sure.
Like a couple weeks ago, we had an attorney that his mother passed away. Well, you're going to continue his cases.
That's right.
Well, he started that in beginning of 2013. Then when I got on the bench in September of 2013, I thought that was a great policy, so I've been doing that as well. And so, and I checked actually to see if the statistics, if I was doing any good, did it make a difference that we were
Right.
doing that? And so, what it actually in the fiscal year, the way the AOC is Administrative Office of the Courts, is the state agency that oversees the court system. In fiscal year 2012 to 2013, which is from July 1st to June 30th, Pitt County disposed the net number of disposed. So you have your charged cases and then your number of disposed cases. The number of net disposed cases was -1. So we had more cases charged than we actually got rid of that year. Then the fiscal year of 2013 to a few months ago, the end of June 2014, since Judge DeSoto and I and we're the ones that have the most criminal experience, so we've been in there in criminal court a lot more. Because Judge Leach and Judge Hilburn and Judge Brady are well versed in domestic court, so they've kind of been doing that area, and Judge Leach assigns us to criminal court. So that year, the fiscal year that just ended, We went from -1 disposed cases to plus 479.
Wow.
So we've actually disposed of
And disposed means what?
the cases over with.
Either convicted
or found not guilty.
not
Yeah,
guilty.
the cases are over
or
with.
dismissed.
Or
whatever.
dismissed, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Includes so we've actually gone from -1 net disposals to 479 net disposals. And in fact, in North Carolina, the total number of net disposed DWI cases was 1,660, I believe. And we were 479 of that, which is about
pretty good.
28% of all the, and this is the net, not all cases, but the
Right.
net of disposed cases, 28% came from Pitt County. So
Doesn't mean there's more drinking here. It means you guys are more efficient.
I think so.
You would like to think
I
so.
I
That's
certainly
right.
think so. And because those older cases are getting older. And I
Do you
just
still have a backlog of old cases? that you guys
there are
working
old
out?
cases, but I think there's a lot less of the old
Right.
cases. And the actual days, the average age of the case that have been disposed of, that number is actually very high, around 2 years. But when you're getting rid of old cases, that number is going to be high, and that
But
number
should,
it will
as you get
correct
down, should
itself.
come on down,
Right.
so.
Right.
I look because each case has a year and a number. Like a speeding ticket is, if it gets charged in 2014, it'll be 14 CR 1 2 3 4 5. So every DWI has one, so you can kind of tell what year they were charged in because it'll say 14, 12,
Right.
13, or 11, whatever it is. And so and as I kind of skim through the calendar, a lot of the older cases I don't see anymore. I think that what we're doing is working. You can't turn a battleship around in an hour.
Right.
It takes time to do that, but I think we're on
That's
the
pretty
right track.
impressive, though,
I
last
think
year.
it's
We're-
very
we're on the
impressive.
right
Well,
track.
we do have to
Yeah.
go to our second commercial break, and when we come back, let's hear a little bit about the campaign. So we're going to take another 2 minutes, come right back, and wrap it up with Lee Teague.
Great.
Are you thinking about
Welcome back to the Greenville Grit. I'm Michael Overton, along with my co-host Terry Williams. Thank you for being on with us today and listening to the show. We have Judge Lee Teague, who is running for District Court Judge, and the election here is coming up in a few weeks. Lee, I think thank you for the last few minutes and telling us a little bit how the system works. If there's anything else you want to put in on that, that'd be great. But I think what is important for people to hear is why should they vote for you?
Well, you say it's coming up soon. Actually, early voting starts 3 weeks from tomorrow.
Oh,
That's
wow.
right.
Wow. I didn't
October
realize that.
23rd.
Yeah, November 4th.
Yeah.
Just over 30 days away.
That's right.
But I guess one of the things that the first thing is we kind of finished up from that last segment. I think what I'm doing is working, is effective.
Right.
I think I'm doing a good job. Obviously, I'm biased to myself, but I think I'm doing a good job. And one of the things is the values that I hold. The way my parents raised me with biblical values are important to me. My faith is very important to me. As well as family values. Like I told you, my wife and married for a little over 16 years. We have 2 young boys. They're 10 and 12. And Pitt County is our home. It has been for
Right.
17 years. So Pitt County matters to me. People talk about the crime and the judges aren't doing anything about the crime. Well, this judge is because I want
Right.
my kids to grow up in a safe community and to be an important to do great things in and for Pitt County and
Right.
Greenville, and have that opportunity to. And also constitutional values are important to me. I believe the Constitution should be interpreted as the way the founders meant for it to be, not to be changed and swayed one way or the other. But it is what it is, and unless it's changed by the proper matter or the proper manner, then it is what it is.
Right.
And that's the way I interpret it and apply it. And I do that fairly to everybody, to the defendants that are in criminal court, as well as to the state. I make the state prove their case. Even being an assistant DA for 10 years, I still make them prove their cases just like
Right.
I should. They don't get a free walk, and the defendants don't get a free walk. Secondly, this is the experience that I talked about. 17 years, over 17 years, and I say this, wholeheartedly, is serving the people of Pitt County
Right.
as an assistant DA and a private attorney, and now as a judge. I view what I do as service. I'm not different than anybody else. I just have a different job,
Right.
and I think we all do. And then the integrity. Like I said, my faith is important, And when I say yes, it means yes. And when I say no, it means no. And it doesn't matter who's asking, whether it's my friend or my enemy. I'm going to do what's right. And I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. None of us are. But I strive every day to do what's right and do it with integrity.
Right. Well, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with your experience, and I think that's what people really need to look at when they go to the polls to vote. That's really important. It's like you said, there's only a handful of people who can do or have chosen to do what you do, and how important it is that you have that background. And I think it also says a lot that the attorneys in this county, as well as our governor, looked at your qualifications and thought, this is the man, this is the one we need. And so I'd like for certainly that to continue. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And thank you for the last year. Hopefully I don't
Yes.
ever have to stand before you. That is
No,
not a
we
place
don't wanna
I
be
want to
there.
be.
That's right.
But and I tell you that
Maybe
Jerry,
jury duty, but not.
Yeah, I don't really want to do
I
that
don't
either.
want jury duty either.
He'd
I
be on
do
side
it
of
as
that.
my service to my community,
That's
but I
right.
really don't want to.
That's
No,
right.
well,
I've
I've only been called once,
never been
and we
called.
had just
Oh,
moved
wow.
to Beaufort County,
Okay.
so I was able to get out of it. Say, hey,
Oh,
we're not even living in the county anymore. I can't do that, so I
No,
got
you
out of
shouldn't
that.
get out of it. You should serve.
I
They
wasn't
need
living in
good
Pitt
people
County. I
like
couldn't
you.
do it.
Okay.
But
That's a valid reason.
and I can speak for Lee, and knowing him, the last one of his best friends is my brother-in-law. So it has
Great.
been a great opportunity to get to know you over the last 10 years, and the friendship you have with the family, and a lot of respect for what you've done. So thank you
Thank you very much.
for representing the county and for being on the show today.
Well, thank you for
giving
the
us a little
invitation.
insight, and be sure in 3 weeks to vote for Lee Teague. You can see us again at 6:30 on Friday night or 9:30 Saturday morning on Cable 7. Thank you, Greenville Toyota, the Overton Group, Kidd Construction Group, and Revised Steakhouse. Until next time, we'll see you next week on the Greenville Grit.